Thank you very much, John. Thank you, everyone, for coming today. These events are really important because we always learn something new, those who have been to these events for so many years. And even, some of those events that, are maybe smaller, you always learn something new about the crime, about the unsolved crime, about the murder that took my uncle's life. I want to mention, John had said I first met him in November at Hartford when I sat with Bob McElveen and Donna Marsh O'Connor, two mentors of mine. Really, I met John in July 4th, 2007 in Philadelphia. There was an anti-war 9/11 Truth conference, and on July 4th is at the convention center, I think it was Independence Hall, we did some street actions that day. So with We Are Change, a group that I've been working with for years in New York. I want to say thank you to everyone here for standing up for my family, okay? A lot of people that are in this movement, yes, absolutely. A lot of people in this movement, you hear from family members, but you don't get thanked enough, I don't think, for doing something more. Everybody in this room right now is doing something more than our lying and corrupt government has done for my family. So that's huge. And it's very important that you know that there's family members, and little by little, more and more family members are understanding that what we have here is we have a situation that begs for a new investigation and really allows for us to really change the way we're thinking. Because to blatantly murder 3,000 neighbors, friends, family in broad daylight, and to be able to get away with it for this long, we're changing that right now, and that's huge. So I just want to mention about my Uncle Tom. I've said this more than enough times. He was the rock. He was the mentor of my family. He was the go-to guy. He was the man that you could just look up to for anything, speak to about anything. And I just, even those last conversations I had with him before September 11, 2001, at his condo in Staten Island, when he was in Florida a few weeks before, saying, hey, I think I might buy some property down here. He worked for Marsh McLellan. He was the vice president of Internet Technology. He was working on transaction software at the time. It was flying all around the country. It just so happened he was in the buildings on September 11th. And I've said this too, that the worst day wasn't the 11th. The worst days were the 12th and the 13th and the 14th, when the hope began to fade after searching throughout Manhattan, going to different hospitals, making phone calls, sending emails, looking on the internet at lists that some were bogus, some were real, and seeing names and not seeing names. And yeah, the worst days were the days after, when the hope began to fade, and my family was completely transformed because we lost that rock. And I say I lost 3 people on 9/11 because I soon lost my grandparents, the parents of my Uncle Tom, because once you lose your youngest son, you lose a bit of yourself. So I lost 3 family members because of 9/11, and I have to say, coming to these events, it helps with that, because I'm surrounded by people that are trying to help the family members and the first responders and the survivors with the truth and the justice and the accountability we seek. I want to mention how long it took me to come to the ability to speak about this, to come to the stage. It took me years, okay? I was a staunch Republican. I was in the Air Force for 5 years. I was a journalist in the Air Force, okay? I believed absolutely everything the government said for years and years, okay? It wasn't until maybe 2004, 2005, this was unfortunately after voting for the former president twice, that I really began to open up and learn a little bit more about the events of that day. And it was a couple of books that I read, it was a couple of documentaries I watched, it was a number of conversations I got into. And from then on, it took a while. It took probably another year or so before I was then able to really focus attention on the details of this mass murder, okay? And it does take time. So for all the people that are here for the first time, just take that time, because there's a lot to digest. Because understanding this event, this false flag, this psychological operation that took place in this country 8 years ago, it takes time to really to get all those details in and to be able to then open up and understand that once we learn about the mechanisms and how the criminals in our government and foreign governments and private corporations managed to murder my uncle and 3,000 others, it gives us an opportunity to understand a lot of other ways in which we're not being told the truth about so many different issues in our lives. First Amendment I want to speak about, okay? Down at Ground Zero with We Are Change, handing out flyers on Saturdays, DVDs. We're doing the First Amendment right there. We're taking that action. As obligated citizens, we all need to do that. Peaceably assembling, petitioning the government for redress of grievances, okay? Freedom of the press. We are the press. We act as the press, okay? We're using our skills, whatever skills we have, to further this cause along, to further the information along. It's vitally important that First Amendment is vitally important, and it's vitally important that we use the skills that we have, because there's not a lot of people like us in this world. There's not a lot of people like us in this country.